Hignett corner, beyond Bent. Janssen! And Blackburn Rovers are 18 minutes away from a Premiership return.
As far as Stewart, just outside the penalty area, clips it central for David Dunn. David Dunn equalises! It just had to be! Dax corner and it goes, glance towards goal! And Rovers have taken the lead! And Charlie Mulgrew has scored his 14th of the season. It may well be the goal that sends Rovers back into the Championship.
Good evening, Rovers fans, and welcome to our post-match live stream as we dissect Rovers' 2-1 defeat to Norwich City this afternoon. I've got to say, I'm the most frustrated I think I've been after a result this season. Not with the Rovers' performance, just that I think that the last two games, I don't think we've got what we deserve from the two games. So a bit frustrating, and a lot of the teams above us also won. So a bit of a double whammy in that sense. But we will, of course, get under the skin of the game and see what happened, where it went wrong, what we need to do over the next games, where we need to improve. Please do interact with us as normal this evening with your usual comments. Please do follow us on Twitter. It is Rovers_chat on Twitter. Please, of course, do subscribe to our YouTube channel. It is Rovers Chat, and this is the final day, day 12 of the 12 days of Rovers Chat, where we sadly end on unpicking a defeat for the Rovers. But before we get into all of that, Jacob, you just wanted to say a few things, didn't you?
Yeah, similar to Luke last week, how he elegantly put his words last week for someone who he cared about. I lost my granddad this past week, a lifetime long Rovers fan. He was there for the Premier League win and also there for some of the darker times, obviously more recently. But he did lose a battle with COVID, and I think it's a reminder to everyone that obviously it's still out there, and unfortunately it's one of those things that if you're vulnerable, it can take you quite quickly. So just a reminder to everyone, obviously over Christmas, just be with your loved ones, because you know it can go so quickly, unfortunately.
Thanks, Jacob. A very important message there. So we will run the sponsor message now. We are sponsored by 6yardsout.com.
The Rovers Chat YouTube channel is proudly sponsored by 6yardsout.com. They've got retro football from every era with mugs, phone cases and much more. They also have plenty of Rovers goods, including apparel with the famous 94-95 season and this season's kit. Check them out using the link in the description below.
Thanks as ever to 6yardsout.com. The other thing for Rovers fans today, of course, if you want to join us on the show, like you've seen Andy Watson for our channel do before, and we've had a couple of others on, please do send a direct message to the Rovers Chat Twitter account, Rovers_chat, and we will bring you on to ask us some questions or give us your thoughts on the game. Just going to go into the comments first before I go round Jacob, Alex and Luke for their initial comments. Michael Pearson, how we've ended up with 0 points from them two performances is soul-destroying. Yep, that's a bit how I feel, Michael. Leap year, man. Agree with that, Ryan, but that has been the story for us in defeats this season. Yep, it has. You look at some of the others like Nottingham Forest and that as well. You know, they're annoying ones, aren't they? And then Ryan Lambert, bitter pill to swallow these past two games. So, Alex, I'm going to come to you first. You did get the score correct, and you get lambasted for your negative views usually. So you can have the first say on Rovers' performance, and I guess say to everyone, I told you so. How are you feeling?
I can promise that I don't gain any pleasure from being right in this instance. I think before we came online, I agreed with you, Ryan, that was the most upset / frustrated that I've been this season, even after the Reading game where, you know, the defensively it was a bit of a shambles. But there's just something about today's game that I think summed up our season in many ways. We look good, you know, we have a lot of possession, we have a lot of shots, we have a lot of shots on goal, we're testing the keeper, but we're not getting the results, I'm afraid. And you look at the performances and you look at the league position, and unfortunately the number of points we're getting, the number of wins we're getting, and the number of points we are after playoffs that we are this season compared to previous seasons, they are almost identical. And what it tells me is that although we've definitely improved in areas of our game, particularly in the areas I've just outlined before, in terms of getting results, we're not actually improving as much as we think we are. And I think today kind of highlighted that. I think Norwich always seem to be one of the bogey sides for us. I said before the game that they've won the last 3 at Ewood, and it just seemed like one of those sides that was always destined to win the game. That lucky deflection that went against us once again, like it did in the Forest game. You know, some people will comment back saying, well, you know, we got a deflection against Millwall and we got a deflection against Brentford, but those shots were going in the back of the net anyway. That goal today from Norwich was just a complete fluke of the highest order, and it always seems to be that those goals are the ones that go against us. And I think the biggest disappointment for me from today was that after the goal, I thought it sucked the life out of us completely. We didn't really look like getting an equaliser after going behind for the second time, and really only in injury time did we pick up that second wind where, you know, it maybe looked like we might create a half chance that we could equalise from. So, yeah, to sum it up, really, really disappointed. Not disappointed with the performance, obviously, as I haven't been all season, really, but disappointed with the result, and obviously disappointed with the way we find ourselves in the table and the fact that a lot of the other sides that we want to compete against won today. So, yeah, I can't lie, it's a really disappointing day.
And for Rovers fans commenting, Barry Douglas is mentioned, Ben Brereton is mentioned, Darragh Lenihan is mentioned. We will pick them up through the show. You know that we do focus on some of the players that haven't played well, so we will discuss those, I promise. Luke, I'm going to bring in Leap Year Man's comment here, where plenty of Norwich fans have said, we're the best team they faced and we will do well, but we still can't make top 6. I'm pretty certain that Watford said that about us. Bournemouth said that about us. Bristol City said that about us. We have undoubtedly addressed keeping the possession of the football, playing some nice stuff. But it is getting a bit worrying now that we're not able to do what Norwich and Watford and Bournemouth have done to us, in that having less possession of the football and being clinical and getting the results. It is a results-based business, isn't it? So it's all well and good saying that we're playing nice football, but we have got to start turning this into wins in games like this, haven't we?
Yeah, I think if you're a teacher and you're marking this paper, you're saying little Jimmy's got all the knowledge, he's writing all the words down, but he's not answering the right question. And that's ultimately where we are. I think we're, we've got loads of the ball. We're creating chances. There's moments of the game where we're controlling games in large parts, and sometimes it's down to individual errors. Sometimes it's down to just pure luck. I know there's some people that are commenting that that goes down to Lenihan. All right, maybe he's made a mistake in the lead up, but ultimately, goals like that are 3 goals to concede. It took a wicked deflection, and we won't be talking about that. You know, Lenihan mistake in the build-up. If that didn't happen, it had just gone unnoticed. It's one of them things, and look like that just seems to be going against us at the moment. And you can't keep making excuses for that. Yeah, you make your own luck, but ultimately, like you say, it's a results business, and we've picked up some really good results actually in the past few weeks. The Barnsleys, the Millwalls, games like that actually we looked like we were going to drop points. And you're thinking, yeah, we're winning ugly, but then it's coming to these games and we're just not getting over the line. It's big turning points in games that if we can get the early goal, then I think it completely changes the dynamic. I mean, again today started with early intent. Rothwell had a really nice early run, picked the ball up, set the tone, and then won an early corner as well. Gallagher defending from the front, some great interceptions, and then he won that header off that corner. And if that goes in, we're talking about a different game then, because we'd have been able to dictate the pace early on. We keep conceding against the run of play, and why that is, I don't know. I'm sure Mowbray will be looking at that, and it's something that we're we're going to have to change if we're going to start picking results up.
Yeah. Someone's phone is going off like Harry Redknapp on transfer deadline day in the background. So one of you is very popular. Jacob, just to be absolutely clear here, you know, the frustration for Rovers fans, we're not frustrated because we're playing badly. It's the frustration, like Luke said, that we have got all of the components there and we should be getting some results from what this football is giving us. And I'm going to pick up Sean Fox's comment here. Good teams don't let their results be determined by luck. You know, luck with injuries, luck on a football pitch is one thing, but there is something, isn't there, about our cutting edge? That's where the frustration's coming from, isn't it, for Rovers fans at the moment?
Yeah, it's the clinical edge, isn't it? And I think that's been chucked around all season, really. Even you can criticise Adam Armstrong a lot of times, even with clinical edge. Like he's, as far as I'm aware, he's still joint top goal scorer in the league, and I'm still sitting here saying he could probably have maybe double the amount of goals because of the amount of chances he creates. It's scary, but he's just not clinical. We saw that obviously the other night, really, midweek. We need to start taking our chances more. Like Norwich in that second half, that was the first time they attacked that entire second half, and as soon as they did, we looked scared, and then they just end up scoring. And like we've said, it came out of nothing. It was a very lucky goal on their part, but no, we just need that a bit more, just to actually threaten properly. And it took an individual brilliance from Elliott to get us that goal. But other than that, and the Sam Gallagher header, we didn't really create anything else really all game, did we? And the Sam Gallagher header was from a really good corner from Barry Douglas as well. So you can kind of put that down to individual brilliance. So no, I don't know what it's going to take, but we do need to start picking up points against the teams in and around us, not the teams that are below us, else we're not going to be anywhere near the top six. And as many times as it does get chucked around, as you've said, Ryan, where we're like teams saying, you're the best team we've played this season, don't worry, you'll be fine or whatever. We've heard that too many times now, and it's not coming into fruition. I'm just hoping and praying that maybe Dak and Travis will be the difference to push us that step further once they're back.
Yeah, and I think we've possibly got a melting pot of stuff which is frustrating Rovers fans at the moment. We've got possession of the football. We're playing some nice stuff. We're top goal scorers, or we're top goal scorers in the division. We've got a great striker in Adam Armstrong. We've got strength in depth, but we've got players who are out of contract at the end of the season. This feels like it's, you know, a one chance to make the top six. I think we've just got this massive melting pot of stuff at the moment, which is ultimately just leading to our frustration in games like this. And I just feel gutted for the team, actually. The last two games, I think we've played some really nice stuff, and I think we've looked really good. And to come away with 0 points is quite upsetting, actually, for the team. So just to be clear, you know, I'm not frustrated because the players have necessarily played bad. It's just that we've not got what I feel we deserve. And when it is that results-based business, when the teams above us are winning, you know, 6 points off the playoffs now. And as you've said, Jacob, Jacob or Alex, compared to previous seasons, it does start to become a bit of a difference maker. You know, if we lose out by 6 points and we're losing out to someone like Watford or Bournemouth, you can look at these games and that's where the difference was. It's all right beating Barnsley and Millwall when you're not playing well, but you've got to beat Norwich and Bournemouth and Watford when you are playing well. That's the difference, isn't it? So we've just got this big melting pot of stuff going on at the moment. So we're going to start just looking into some of the players then. We'll start with the players that played well. So, Alex, I'm going to come on to you first. I think I probably know the answer to this, so you're going to get first dibs and nice and easy for you. You know, who played well today for Rovers?
Well, obviously, I think the answer is Harvey Elliott is the standout, isn't he? And I think he was probably the standout not only today, but I would say in the Bristol game as well, and even the Brentford game when we were down to 10 men. I just think his range of passing is absolutely fantastic. His ability to just pick out passes from all angles, short and long, you know, diagonal and forward passes, just outstanding in every way. And the one thing I will say is I just cannot believe that he is 17. I mean, it's pretty scary to me. I've never seen as accomplished a player at that age in this division. since I've been supporting Rovers, really, either playing for us or playing against us. I just haven't seen a player at that age with that much quality and that much potential. And I'll make a statement now. I think he will play for England. I just can't see how he won't if he carries on the progression that I think he's shown already this season. I think, like Jacob alluded to, even though we had a lot of the game today, did we actually have that many chances where you went, wow, that was a must score? A bit like at Bristol, you know, we can say, well, we had a lot of possession, we had a lot of shots, we had a lot of shots on goal. But could you really point to any moment where you went, other than maybe Ayala from the corner, where you went, God, you have to score there? That is a golden chance. And if I'm being honest with you, we've not really created that many golden chances in the last 2 games. We've played pretty well, no doubt about that, but we've not created that many golden chances. And as Jacob said, it needed that individual brilliance from Elliott to jink past 2 or 3 players and put the ball in the back of the net. And that's what made the difference for us today at that point in the game. And really, I think that was, at times today, that was really the only way I could see us scoring, is that kind of moment of individual magic from maybe, you know, Holtby or Rothwell or Elliott. And Elliott was really the only one that could provide that today. And I think as a result of that, he obviously gets mentioned as the standout player for us.
I think the point you just made there, Alex, about the chances, you know, we covered it on the post-match stream against Bristol City about the quality of chances that we created. And I'm sure that Joe and Andy on this show will dig out the stats for this game as well. It potentially feels like there's a game plan there now for a lot of championship sides. Let Rovers have it in their own half and in, you know, just over halfway line. But we can probably boss Rovers a bit easier in our own box. It seems like it's a bit of an easy game plan for teams at the moment. And that's probably why we're not seeing those chances, because they're conceding that possession and they're basically relying on us just to say, well, you do something. And today we did have Harvey Elliott, didn't we? Luke, I'm going to come on to you just about Harvey Elliott. Sam Gallagher hits the bar, really unlucky chance. And you're thinking, we've started the second half really well. We needed that moment, didn't we, from Harvey Elliott? And for those 5 minutes after he scored, I'm sat there thinking, right, we might go on and nick this. Just how important was it to get that goal when we did from Elliott?
Yeah, the timing was everything, wasn't it? Because it set the tempo then for that start of the second half. He's one of them players, isn't he, that just picks the ball up, can beat a man effortlessly, effortlessly even. Yeah. He just looks so natural to him. Like you said, 17-year-old, and his ability is outstanding. Really, really good footballer. I'll be surprised next year if he's not playing in the Premier League, whether that be a loan or back at Liverpool, and offering them some strength in depth. Phenomenal, really. I would say actually this might be a slight bit of controversy, because a lot of people in the chat are saying how great a game Nyambe had, and he did. He had a good game. So this isn't any criticism of Nyambe whatsoever, but I think it shows you how good Harvey Elliott is. When some of the times in the first half, Nyambe was just not on the same wavelength. It was putting the effort in, he was getting in the right positions to a point, but Harvey Elliott was just a step in front, and some of the times not so much the communication, but maybe the understanding between them two, and I'm sure it'll come. It'll become a little bit more natural for the two of them over, the time that they play together over the next, few games, 5 games, 10 games, whatever. By the end of the season, we'll see, a lot of success down that right, which we have been seeing anyway. But I just think Harvey Elliott is such an intelligent footballer that he's leaps and bounds above this Rovers side. And like I say, no disrespect to anyone on that football field, because there's a lot of intelligent football players in Rothwell, in Holtby, etc. But Harvey Elliott is a talent. He's a phenomenal footballer, and like Alex said, second that, he will play for England. There's no doubt about that.
I think Elliott, for me, seems to have taken his game to another level, actually. I think some of the passes he was putting in the Bristol City game and creating for Armstrong, and just how he affected that game. And then today, with Rovers potentially feeling a bit sorry for themselves after Sam Gallagher hits the bar, and you're thinking, will it go in today? For a 17-year-old just to go, right, I'm going to go and score this equaliser. It was just amazing to see, and it was brilliant. And just on what we were saying about Rovers potentially being, easy to defend against and maybe a clear game plan to stunt us, Andy Watson has come up trumps for me with the chances. So according to Infogol, Elliott's was our best chance, not another chance over 0.2 XG. Their XG model had it at 1.19 versus 1.79 to Norwich. That equals a fair result. So, yeah, that's just some statistical stuff, fresh out the game that suggests that the good teams like Norwich, restrict Rovers outside the box and tell them to go and produce those moments of magic like what Harvey Elliott does. So I think if we are going to be serious about the top six, that's an area that we've got to start addressing now. We've got to create those chances like what Norwich had in the first half when Pukki hits the bar. He should have scored. We need to create chances like that. We need more of that. Jacob, did anyone else stand out for you today? Who else did you think played well?
There wasn't really anyone who stood out per se, anywhere near as much as Harvey Elliott. But at the start of this stream, people were saying Barry Douglas played awful today. But I thought Barry Douglas actually had one of his better games today in terms of his set piece ability. I thought quite a few times corners and the free kicks, particularly in the first half, were the most threatening we looked. Obviously, I referenced before that Sam Gallagher header that forced a really good save from the Norwich keeper. But there was other times he were putting balls in and they looked quite threatening as well. And I remember there was one in particular, it just kind of hit Johnson and it kind of got cleared off the line or something like that from a corner. And I did think in that respect of his game, he did play quite well today. But I think, like we kind of said when we signed Barry Douglas, he can be a bit exposed defensively, and I think that is showing at times. But I think with his crossing ability, though, today he was all right as well. So I didn't think he had a bad game by any chance. But I thought some of the distribution, like I said, particularly in that first half, was definitely some of the best chances we had.
Yeah, and Barry Douglas is an interesting one today because on the pre-match stream, I actually had Amari Bell at left back in my side because I felt that Barry Douglas hadn't had the best games for Rovers in the previous ones. So I was happy to see him today. And Jacob, yeah, his set pieces were on point today. I thought they were fantastic, and it's exactly what we needed. And he's unlucky not to get the assist from the Sam Gallagher header in the first half, which we'll come on to as a talking point a bit later on. But yeah, there's just something about Douglas's performances that I don't think he brings what Bell does in terms of getting down that left-hand side and him as an attacking outlet like what Nyambi is down that right-hand side. So I do feel that, a team like Rotherham, with the greatest respect to Rotherham, let's maybe give Amari Bell a chance and let's see what he can do at left-back. I think it's a tough one. I think that set-piece-wise, yeah, Douglas has had an okay game, but I don't know. I'm still not seeing the player that I thought I'd see. So maybe it's his reputation going before him. I don't know. But I don't know. I think there's more to come from Barry Douglas, certainly. And maybe a rest in midweek might just allow him just to get to the levels that he knows and he will know as well. So, Alex, we're going to come on to some of the talking points of the games then. I think there's quite a few, actually, as we break the game down chronologically, as we usually do. So I'm going to start with the Sam Gallagher header, which I did just reference. So we did see a fairly quick Rovers start again, actually. I thought we got our foot on the ball well. We were going forward nicely and really went to impose ourselves on Norwich. I can't remember what minute the header was, but it was a fantastic ball in from Barry Douglas. And Sam Gallagher, again, another talking point, which we'll come on to. The unluckiest man on the pitch today, that save and then hitting the crossbar. He should have scored today. But let's start off with the header. Firstly, what a save from Michael McGovern. And then secondly, if we're going 1-0 up, it could be a completely different game, couldn't it?
100%, Ryan. I think I knew that McGovern would have a fantastic game when I saw one of the comments in the pre-match stream saying that Tim Krul was injured and the rubbish backup goalkeeper was playing. So I knew really from the first 3 minutes when he made that save that we were in for a kind of difficult afternoon in that regard. I think you do have to credit, as Jacob alluded to, that Barry Douglas had a far better delivery than maybe it was on Wednesday night when we were all kind of ruining the poor corners and the poor set pieces. So I think that was a positive. And I think Gallagher, again, you can't after this game be upset with him. You know, he's had that great header saved really well, and he had that really unlucky effort come off the bar. I mean, you can't look at Gallagher and say that he's been poor today by any means. And I think we've talked about it so much. The first goal in this league I think it's the most important factor in any game of football in this league. Who scores the first goal? It's the biggest predictor of who will end up with the points or not. And I think the stats do show that when Rovers score first, we've not lost a game. And when Rovers concede first, we've not won a game. So that tells you all you need to know, doesn't it? It really is absolutely crucial. And I think if I have one criticism of Rovers this season, apart from maybe not getting the results that our players deserved, it's that I think last season we were really, really good at getting an early goal. I think we were maybe the best in the league for getting goals in the first 15 minutes. And I think this season we've maybe just not quite done the same. I don't know whether it's, again, a lack of luck, a lack of lady luck going our way, or just a change of mentality. But it just seems this season we're not scoring as many early goals as we did last season. I think that may be one of the root causes that, especially at Ewood, the longer the game goes on, 0-0, the more the opposition gets confident, the more they come out of their own half, the more impetus they get to get that winning goal. And I think, obviously, if Rovers score first, teams, as we've seen at times this season, in the Wickham game in particular, and even in the QPR game, when Rovers score first, they're a very difficult team to beat at Ewood, aren't they? And you just cannot give away sloppy first goals like we did today. And yeah, it really has come back to bite us. I think one talking point I would add to what you've said, Ryan, is that I think every time Norwich went forward today, it looked like they could score. I think the quality of chance they created was far and above what we created. And I think Andy was alluding to that with the XG, that although they may have had fewer chances than we did, it seemed like their chances were very good chances. I mean, even the Pookie one in the first half when he hit the bar and the scramble around that, they had 2 or 3 chances in a minute of each other. And yeah, it just seems like the big moment's not going our way at the minute. And I think ultimately the reason for that is that we maybe just lack that little extra quality that gets you in that top 2 and top 6 at the end of the season, I'm afraid.
Yeah. Just coming on to the comments that we've had about Barry Douglas before we go on. So Ryan Lambert would rather have Bell than Douglas, leaves us so exposed down that left. Andy Watson, no, Barry Douglas has not been good yet. Still might get there, but that is the main position that still needs an upgrade. Eugene Shee, I must say, Douglas doesn't look like he's going to bust a gut for Rovers. And then Joe Harvey, Douglas doesn't lack effort for me, just quite a slow player who's having to play in a very pace-dependent role. His set pieces and creativity sets him apart from Bell for me. And yeah, I think, Joe, that's we have covered that on a lot of our streams, just tactically, how Mowbray wants those fullbacks to push on. And, you know, we have the 2 centre-backs as the 2, and then the fullbacks are making it the 4 or the 3 with the deep-lying midfielders. So, yeah, maybe Barry Douglas is suffering a little bit with the system in that regard. But I'm really hopeful that we can get a good player out of Barry Douglas. And, you know, it has been a really disjointed last couple of years, and Barry Douglas didn't play as much, I don't think, at the back end of his time at Leeds either. So maybe he's still just catching up with his fitness levels, and we will see that player that we want to see. So, Luke, I'm going to come on to you then. So we've spoken about Sam Gallagher's chance and Rovers starting well. But then, as Alex alluded to there, as teams find their confidence at Ewood Park, they then start to do things, don't they? And we saw that in the first half in this game. Despite that really good start for Rovers, there was a little 5-minute spell where Josh Martin got in, and I think it was a good block by Nyambi and Williams together. And then the goal, it came at a really awkward time for us. You know, you could argue it was against the run of play, and it was disappointing that Teemu Pukki is being marked by Sam Gallagher. And again, that's no indictment on Sam Gallagher. It's just, why is Teemu Pukki being marked by one of our strikers? It was a disappointing goal to concede, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I can understand it from an aerial perspective, but when the ball then makes it onto the floor, it's an absolute mismatch with Timu Pukki against Sam Gallagher. So as soon as he gets the ball, we're in trouble. So why he's being marked by Sam Gallagher, I don't know. Not when you have players like Lenihan and Williams in your team that can do that, or perhaps even Bradley Johnson. I know he's not known for physical for an aerial presence as such, but physically it'd have done a job there. But when you've got two centre halves that are more than capable of doing that job, it did seem a strange decision. On the goal as well, I just don't. Timu Pukki, great striker, scores goals, very smart, very cute, knows what he's doing, and clearly picked the near post and must have thought, yeah, I'll get a goal here. But to get beat at your near post is really poor from Kaminski there. His quality shot stopper, he's been ever reliable for us this season, and I just don't feel like if I'm going to give him any small criticism today, I don't feel like he should be getting beat at your near post. And unfortunately, at that point in the game, we were on top. We had some good moments. Armin not getting on the ball too much in the attacking positions, but his link up with Elliott was great. It was nice to see him win a few headers, actually. Armstrong against, players like Grant Hanley, who were big, strong aerial threats, and Adam Armstrong seemed to be winning headers there. So it's not through want to try, anyway. You're absolutely getting in and amongst it. Really, really unfortunate to concede the goal when we did. And like I said, it's a goal that was avoidable for a number of reasons. The marking that he got onto, and obviously it should have been stopped from Kaminski, in my opinion. And then we don't really get going after the goal. That's the problem, I think, with what happened today. We're playing so well up to the goal, and then the goal just, it allowed Pukki maybe a bit of confidence to get going a bit, because up to that point we'd nullified Pukki. I didn't even see Pukki get anything in the ball whatsoever. We did everything right, and then after that he got a chance to do exactly what we predicted he were going to do. Before in the pre-match stream, just off the shoulder, got in behind and hit the bar. Shouldn't be happening. We knew what Pukki could do. It's difficult, and when you, like Alex was saying earlier, last season, yes, we got early goals, but we didn't then go on to win games. That was almost the difference. We'd sit on 1-0 wins. I think now, when you've seen us this season getting early goals, that then sets the tempo, and I think what's happening is we're starting with a real high tempo, and then when we're not getting the goals, that's when you can see the play, just the frustration in the play start to creep in a little bit, and then we're just holding possession and maybe trying to force things too much, and that's when it's becoming really difficult. And again, like Alex said, as longer the games goes on, when it's like that, we're looking like conceding really unfortunate and really avoidable goals a lot of the time. So, and then that changes the tone of the game, of course.
Yeah, just on the Pukki goal, I think maybe Kaminski might have been a bit unsighted by the shot. So I think had he had a full sight of it, he probably does save it. But I think he's a bit unsighted and it's crept in there. So I'm not going to criticise Kaminski too much for that. Jacob, so, Luke's referenced it there and Alex has spoken about the quality of chances. You give Pukki the opportunity in our box like that to turn and then get a shot away. It's going to be a goal. From that point, it was really vital that we went in at 1-0 down and not 2-0 down. And we were quite lucky not to go 2-0 down with the shot that hit the bar. Do you share the view from Luke there that once that Pukki goal went in, we needed half time and we just needed to just reassess things and stay in that game?
Yeah, most definitely. A bit similar to Brentford last week, actually. Obviously, we just needed to get in at 1-0 at half time, didn't we? 1-1, sorry, in that game at half time. And then obviously when we came out the second half, we looked like a total inside. We were re-energised. We were on top for a good like, what was it, 10, 15 minutes until they got their second goal, and they didn't have a sniff at all whilst we were on top once we came out for that second half. And we just looked so dominant, and they just completely sat off us. And it is just a shame that they obviously get that second chance and it just goes in, because it was so unlucky. It wasn't deserved at all, really, on the balance of play from that second half when they did get it. But it's just the little things, isn't it? I think, like Luke mentioned, we did nullify Pookie up until that goal, obviously, but they've done. It seems like all teams at the moment are doing such a good job of just nullifying Adam Armstrong. The past few games, really, he has just been so quiet. Like, even though he did get the last minute winner against Millwall, and even before that, he was scoring goals, but he just still having very quiet games, not really getting involved much, and it just seems like the teams are nullifying our only threat, and then we're relying on the rest of the team that aren't really contributing too many goals, because we have been relying quite a lot on Adam Armstrong for the goals, and we just look lost. And obviously, like I've already said, it took a bit of individual brilliance from Harvey Elliott, but other than that, we didn't look like we didn't really threaten all that much, like we've already said, and there was only a handful of chances, and it's just frustrating to see that. So hopefully once Dak's back, he'll kind of take the onus off Armstrong and then give us another outlet for some goals and another threat to have for oppositions, because it just seems like oppositions have our numbers at the moment when it comes to giving us the ball and just letting us have pointless possession and just completely nullifying Adam Armstrong.
Just a reminder to Rovers fans, if you do want to join us on the show, please do send a DM to the Rovers Chat Twitter account, and we will get you on the show with us to ask a question if you'd like to do that. We'd love to have you with us. So, Alex, we've spoken there that Rovers, it was vital that we got to half-time at 1-0, particularly, the final 20 minutes of that first half. Norwich appeared to have a lot of space in front of our back four in that midfield area, and I think we were struggling in those areas in particular. But what was really pleasing for me is the response that we got from our players after half-time. We seemed to raise it another level. I saw Rothwell coming and getting the ball from deep and driving it forward. Holtby was getting forward a bit more. Harvey Elliott, we've spoken about, obviously got his foot on the ball well. It was good that we got that reaction. We saw it a lot in League One in particular, where Mowbray gets the players in at half-time and then we get that reaction and we get on the front foot. That was really good to see today, wasn't it? From Rovers against the league leaders. It was good that we said, right, let's go at them. And ultimately, we then got the equaliser eventually.
I agree with that, Ryan, 100%. But I think it does bear the question of what will the impact be going forward on... I think the team will be negatively affected by today, in the sense that I think they poured every drop of effort they physically have into this game, and ultimately coming up short in that way, I just wonder if that will have a detrimental impact going forward in the next run of games, which I really hope it doesn't, because that could be season ending, if we don't sort ourselves out in that regard with regards to results. But I agree 100%. All of our comments now and all of our comments after these games, they've got to be measured in the sense that these players are playing for Mowbray. There's absolutely no doubt about that. They're playing for the club. They're putting in all of the effort that they've got. The question is the ability there? Is the quality there? And as the last comment said, you guys look great today, really unlucky, made us work more than any other team this season. How many clubs have said that about us? How many more teams are going to have to say that before we start actually saying, well, is it just the sexy football that's kind of appealing to the other fans, or is it that we've actually got the quality? And at the minute, I'm afraid to say that the answer seems to be that for all of our good play and all of our sexy football, there isn't actually much substance to back it up with regards to points and results, and that will ultimately be what either makes or breaks this season. It will be whether we can convert these performances into victories, and up to now, we haven't. And I think the biggest disappointment for me today, Ryan, was, although the response after half-time was absolutely fantastic, I agree with you 100% on that, to me, the reaction to going behind for the second time, it seemed to sap the energy out of the team completely. And I think what you saw from that was Mowbray reacting by making that triple substitution. And if we're being honest, it didn't really work, did it? It didn't really provide us with that extra energy and that extra craft that we thought that we were going to get. So I'm sure I'll let someone else talk about that. But yeah, to me, that was the biggest disappointment. It wasn't the fact that we came out half time and maybe didn't get what we deserved in the end. It was because I do believe that this group of players play for the shirt 100%. We all know that. You know, they do put in the effort. I've never criticised them for that, but it was just that response to going 2-1 behind for me that was the killer.
Yeah, we'll certainly come on to that in a moment as a talking point. But I think you're absolutely right, Alex. That's the million-dollar question for Rovers now. So how do we turn this possession? How do we turn this pattern of play into those better chances, into that higher XG to get those results that we need? Because actually, if you dig beneath the surface, buried beneath the 5-0s, the 4-0s, the top goal scorers in the league, or, you know, we were buried beneath Adam Armstrong, we have had the 0-0 at home to Middlesbrough. We have had the 0-0 at home to Cardiff. We've lost 1-0 at home to Forest. We've lost 1-0 away at Bristol City. So actually buried beneath all of that is that. And it's those games where it's turning that possession and that XG into those wins. And if we turn some of those results into victories, then we are higher up the table. So that feels like the million dollar question for me at the moment, God speak. And it might be that Mowbray has to sacrifice something with the pattern of play at the moment. I don't know. Maybe we'll have to see a different formation. Maybe we'll have to see some different personnel. Maybe Bradley Dack is the answer. Maybe Lewis Travis is the answer. Who knows? But that does feel like where we are at now. And the stats don't lie, I think. And Mowbray will know it. The players will know it. It's just, I don't know what the answer is, really. I really don't, because you can't fault the endeavour and you can't fault the effort, as you say, Alex. So, Luke, we're going to come on to you then. It was a bit of a double whammy, so I don't really want to talk too much about their goal because it'll just annoy me. I thought it was clever from Pookie. You know, he stuck his leg out and it goes in. You know, that's what strikers do. And if Adam Armstrong does that, then I'm waxing lyrical. So, yeah, they've got the goal. It really hurt us so soon after Harvey Elliott's goal. But I think Alex is right. It was just how, from that moment, it was just complete sapping away. And then the substitutions, I do think it was a bit extreme from Mowbray, actually, to change the whole midfield and also for Tyrese Dolan not to make it on the pitch at all. The subs didn't work today, did it? We didn't get the reaction that we needed.
That was the only disappointing part in that game for me. Like you said, we played some great football. There were some great individual performances. Harvey Elliott, we've spoke about him. He got the 2 megs. It was almost a little showboating game at times. We played well. The only area where we were lacking is that final third. It's that final ball. It's that bit of quality. We've spoke about it time and time again. It's that little moment, just the ball dropping nice. And I can see why he left Adam Armstrong on the pitch because of what he did at Millwall. And 5 minutes from time, very late on, he got a chance where he turned and swiveled and had a good shot, made McGovern work for it. So he's got that in his locker. And you know that, like Timu Pukki, exactly like you said, great strikers get goals, and they get goals out of nothing sometimes. So I can understand why he stayed on. But when we can see it here, he was nullified. He didn't get much of the ball. He wasn't having much luck. And I think just take him out of the firing line a bit. He's scoring goals. He wants to play football. You know, we know that. But I think it's up to Mowbray maybe in situations like this just to say, you know, you've been frustrated past couple of games, you know, been lashing at shots, taking shots on that maybe you wouldn't have done in midweek. Maybe could have played the ball and it's just not falling for him. I think today, if we'd have just took him out, maybe changed things up a bit, Harvey Elliott as a false 9 perhaps, let him get in the game a bit more, bring on Tyrese Dolan, a bit of pace out wide, just try something a little bit different, because I think actually it's no disrespect to, you know, it's not a criticism of Adam Armstrong. He has been our wonder boy this season, along with your Harvey Elliott's and your Ben Berrisons. bring Ben Brereton into it at this point. We are missing Ben Brereton, and we need Ben Brereton back in this for this system to work successfully. Ben Brereton's a big part of that. But yeah, I think to not bring on Tyrese Dolan and not have a bit of a plan B was a real shame, because the game was there to get something from. Norwich are a good side. We spoke about it in the pre-match. They've got some great players, and that's ultimately where we lost the game. Just that moment of quality from a player of Timu Puki's calibre. But yeah, I think it were there for us to get something out of it, even if it were just a draw later on, just to get an equaliser. And the way we made them changes to just blanket swap the midfield with no real plan of how that's going to impact the game was the only point where I think actually we maybe could have done something a little bit differently there. But other than that, it was all there for us to see. Just a frustrating game, like we've said.
Yeah, and Jacob, on the post-match stream against Bristol City, we did speak about that for how good our plan A can be and some of the results we've had, does feel like Rovers' plan B isn't there at the moment. And there are options available to Mowbray in the likes of Tyrese Dolan and others, but just a couple of things. So firstly, I think one of our big plan Bs has been on the pitch in Sam Gallagher, if you do want to do things a little bit differently. So without Ben Brereton, the results don't lie. We've not won without Brereton, possibly because we haven't got the plan B there as well if we do need to shake it up. So that's the first thing to say, Jacob. And then secondly, it was really disappointing for me how this game just petered out. Just silly things like that Lenihan back pass to Kaminsky that went out for a corner, and just some of the stuff that was going out of play and the stuff that we weren't able to create in that final third. Did it disappoint you just how the game petered out, and those changes Mowbray made just had no impact on the outcome, really, did they?
I think, like you've already said, we just don't have a plan B right now. Sam Gallagher was our plan B and did rescue us a point against Luton, and then obviously got us the win in the game after. I think it was Barnsley, weren't it? He came on and scored another goal. No, it's worrying, isn't it? You're looking at the bench and you're looking at an 18-year-old in Tyrese Dolan to come on and save a game. It's not good. And then your only other attacking option really is Harry Chapman, who's shot of confidence and hasn't really been given any opportunities at all. And we're losing a game 2-1, and to just take off the midfield three and then to bring on Buckley, who's a passer of the ball, Downing, who's more of a defensive passer of the ball as well, and Davenport is a holding midfielder. It made no sense. And like you said, as soon as that happened, we just looked worse. We didn't look any better at all, and the game just kind of died, really, didn't it? Died a death. And I think at the start of the season we were saying, weren't we, that's where we looked scarce. We looked scarce in the more offensive positions, and as soon as we've lost Ben Brereton, it just hasn't looked the same as it at all. And that's credit to Ben, but I didn't think I'd be saying that at the start of the season, bloody hell. But no, it is scary how much he has influenced this team, and the fact that we just don't have a plan B right now, and doing things like that, it just isn't reassuring. And going off one of the comments that said we still can't beat a team in the top half, I was just having a look, and the teams above us, we haven't played Stoke yet, but we've got 6 losses and 4 draws, and haven't beat one of them yet, as that comment said. And it really isn't looking good, is it? We do need to start beating those teams above us, and I'm not sure how that's going to come about, but something has to change, else we are going to be mid-table this season if we can't start beating the teams above us. So
something has to change, and this is just, do you know what? When stars align, they align, don't they? This is just all lending itself really nicely to Bradley Dack coming back into this side and just sprinkling some of that magic dust over this side and being the talisman and being that something that maybe tactically we can't see at the moment, because we've all had those comments about, well, where does Dack fit? Let's just get him in that side and see what happens now. And if it means the formation changes slightly or whatever, maybe Dak can be the magic and can be the thing that takes that forward. Just on the subs as well, we've spoken on these streams, Rothwell, Johnson and Holtby, they've all been in the comments regularly on our post and pre-match streams as really important midfielders for Rovers. And I think that was, to take all three of them off at the same time, for me, it just felt really extreme. You certainly leave one of them on. Probably Joe Rothwell's the one that I leave on, because he's going to get that ball and go forward. It was just, regardless of who you're bringing on in a game of football, I don't think I've seen that very often, that you take off all your midfield three. When was the last time that, I don't know, let's pick a random side, Chelsea, at the same time took off Kante, Mason Mount and Kovacic or whatever? It just doesn't happen. So I don't know what the thought process was. Is it, was he trying to get down in on the ball? Did he want Davenport and Buckley to get stuck in? I don't know what the instruction was at that point, and I don't know. He just removed some real big elements for me, particularly Rothwell and Holtby and the way they were getting forward. So it was just a strange one. And whether he was looking forward to the Rotherham game and saving legs, I don't know. But I think it just really disrupted us, and the result was inevitable in the end. And Barry Douglas's shot at the end, I just collapsed into my chair and was just like, there we go, that's game over. But hey-ho. So just picking up the comments then, Arnaud Mahu, yes, let's focus on the next couple of games, because that is absolutely where I want to take the conversation. Alex, I'm going to come to you first. We spoke in the pre-stream before the Luton game. We've discussed this a few times, actually, but now is a really good time for us to review it. Pre-stream of the Luton game, we reflected on the 12 games that we had coming forward, and there was a real universal agreement within the comments about 24 to 25 points would be a good return from this block of 12. Got 11 points so far out of the 7 games, so that means we need 13 or 14 points to get to that 24, 25 points. So for us to achieve that now from this block of games, we need 4 wins and a draw out of the next 5. So we have possibly put a little bit of pressure on ourselves there to achieve that run rate. You got Rotherham at home, which automatically becomes a big home game to start that run off. There's a couple of tough games in there, 3 tough away games, I think. Huddersfield away, Stoke away, Birmingham away. We're going to do really well, I think, aren't we, to get 4 wins and a draw out of these next 5.
I agree, Ryan, 100%. I think the biggest worry for me going forward is that under Mowbray in the Championship, we've always seemed to flick between 2 switches, really. The switch where we look unbeatable and we win 4 games on the trot, like we have several times under Mowbray in the Championship, and then spells where we don't win in 6 or 7 games, or spells where we lose 9 out of 11. And those runs that I've just mentioned are the season-killing runs that you just cannot afford to do. And it was this time last Christmas, where we went on a run of 6 or 7 games without a win, and that killed the season. It gave us too much work to do in the second half. And one thing I would say about the upcoming games is, it's looking unlikely that we will get the 24 points that was the target. However, we need to keep ourselves in the race. We cannot afford now to go 6 or 7 games without a win. That would be, in my opinion, a fatal blow to the season, really. And it's what that kind of roller coaster cycle does is it means that in spells we look like a really good side, and then we're ruined why we're not getting in the top 6. And I think the reason for that is we're just a mid-table side that, rather than going through the win-loss-draw cycle that a lot of mid-table teams do, we kind of have a warped way of doing it, where we win 5 in a row and then we don't win for 7 games. And it just leaves us incredibly frustrated and angry about, why can't we do this more regularly? And I think the answer to it is that we're probably a mid-table side that just goes through funny runs where we don't win in 6 or 7 and then we win 4 on the spin and it balances out. But as you say, Ryan, looking at the games coming up, Rotherham at home on Wednesday night is a must-win. There's no getting away from that. It's an absolute must-win game. There's no one can disguise it. No one can play it down. No one can justify us not winning that game. It's a must-win game in every possible sense. And then you move on to Stoke away, which I think will be a tough game, and I think a point would be a good result from that, considering their results this season. and then you're looking to maybe beat Sheffield Wednesday at home on Boxing Day. That's another must-win game. And then you've got maybe looking to pick up 4 points from Huddersfield and Birmingham, which I think is a possibility. But yeah, we're going to have to be playing well, and we're going to have to become that consistent side that, unfortunately, this season we've not looked like being. We seem to have so many false dawns, don't we, where we have 2 or 3 wins like we did recently, where we beat Barnsley, we beat Millwall without playing particularly well. We beat Preston convincingly, we play really well. And you say, can we go on? Can we go on a 10, 12, 15 game unbeaten run to really cement ourselves in the playoffs? And we've just not quite managed to do that. I think we're in a position where we're always playing catch up and trying to catch the playoff positions rather than getting in the playoff positions, establishing ourselves in there, and then just going on an average run of form where we kind of maintain our level. It always seems like we're desperately searching for something, desperately trying to find a run of form that will catapult us up the league. And I think what that does is it just applies too much pressure, and ultimately that pressure tells, and you just can't go into every game thinking, God, we've got to win this game. We must win this game. Eventually you won't win the game and you'll miss out. And I think that's really sums up the situation at the minute for Rovers.
Rovers fans, in the comments, let us know how many points you think we need from these next 5 games, because there's a lot that I agree with Alex about, actually, with what he's just said there. So, Luke, I think Alex is absolutely spot on. In a Rovers side that you could argue has been fairly inconsistent at times, the consistency we have had are those runs that Alex has said. So this Rotherham game now, we have got to stop a losing run or a non-winning run from happening right now with this game against Rotherham on Wednesday, haven't we? And that's why it's a must-win. It's not must-win because it's make or break for the playoffs. It's a must-win because we've got to stop this run from developing.
I think Rovers fans can be very quick to be downbeat about different situations. I think like this, we've gone on a bit of a run now where we've maybe not picked up points and not turned draws into wins, and we've not picked up draws where we could be, and it's very, very narrow margins. We're talking about not being consistent, but for the first time in a long time, I'm seeing consistent Rovers performances. Yeah, we're not getting the results, but we're getting the performances.
Yeah.
And I think that's a start. I think we've been a work in progress. I think we had a lot of chat before the start of the season. There was optimism, but there was a lot of realism as well. Yes, we've got a really talented squad now, but it is a work in progress. It's the first time that we've actually looked at a Blackburn squad and as fans said, actually we've got some talent in this squad, and we've got opportunity to go places. But it's a young squad, and it's not going to happen overnight. I think we might be sat here in 3 games' time speaking very differently about our outlook, because I think if we do go to Rotherham and win, then we're taking some momentum into the Stoke game, potentially pick some points up there, and then you can then go into the Sheffield Wednesday game, Huddersfield, both winnable games, and then the turn of the new year we've got Birmingham, of course. For me, some of the problems creep in when we have a maybe not a bad performance, but a bad result midweek, and then you're taking that into the Saturday, because you've got such a especially at a Wednesday game, you've got a very small turnaround then for Mowbray to pick the boys up and go again. When you look at the Bristol City game, it's not that we played bad, so the lads will be going in thinking, this is disappointing, frustrating, and all those sort of things. We're sort of coming out in the game a little bit. And Adam Armstrong's a prime example of that. Great player, goal scorer, fantastic. We've relied on him probably too much, and he's becoming frustrated because he wants to be that figure. He wants to get the goals. He wants to fire Blackburn Rovers higher at the table. And maybe it is a point where we just change it up and try some new things out to get the results. But ultimately, we're performing well, and if Adam Armstrong can turn some shots into goals, we're talking about different results then. Football can be cruel at times, and sometimes you don't deserve what you get at 90 minutes, but ultimately over the season, it shows. And you win some, you lose some, but you're where you are at the end of the season based on a 46-game season. So it does even itself out. But I think we've got the potential to turn these fine margins into results. And like we say, it's a results-based game. It's doable. It's just at the moment frustrating, like we're all saying. I don't think it's bad. We're not sitting here, it's not turning into Arsenal fan TV and we're all going mad and calling for people's heads and saying we need new signings and we need to shake up the team completely. It's there. We've got the basis of it. It's just turning it into results now. And if we can do that, it's the momentum. Momentum is so big, especially going into this Christmas period. It's going to be a tough period for teams, and if we pick points up, we can be in and around there, but we keep saying the same things. We've just got to turn it into results now.
And momentum's the key word there, isn't it, Luke? We want to get the ball rolling in the forward direction rather than the reverse direction, which is why this Rotherham game feels a little bit important to me. Just to pick up the comments, Jacob, before I come to you. Leap year, man, we need at least 3 wins out of the next 5, maybe. Can afford 1 defeat minimum. And then Michael Pearson, 3 wins out of 5 needed to stay in touch. Elijah Shaw, we need them all. Realistically, I'd be wanting 9 or 10. FM Works, I'd love 10 points. So, yeah, that feels realistic, that level of points return. 3 wins out of 5, maybe 3 wins and a draw out of 5. Looking at these fixtures, Jacob, we've said on these streams before, under a normal season, not many sides win 3 games in a week. We've said that before with the Saturday, Tuesday, Saturday. Not many get 3 wins on the spin like that. And not many teams are doing it within this 12-game block and how the fixtures are piling up at the moment. But Luke's made a really good point here in that if we can get the win against Rotherham, get a positive result against Stoke, either a draw or a win, we get a crucial week's rest between the Stoke game and the Sheffield Wednesday game. There's a week between that when we get to the Boxing Day. That's a chance for if we can get 4 or 6 points against Rotherham or Stoke, have a bit of a rest, hit the Sheffield Wednesday game, and then hopefully reignite the season a little bit in that sense. How are you looking at these 5 games and what sort of points return are you looking for?
Yeah, I think I'd have to agree with FM Works. I think 10 points would be what I would be expecting. If you're looking at those next 5 games, on paper, Stoke is the only one where you're a bit concerned, really, that we could maybe go into that game and lose it. The other games, we should not be losing them. For a team that wants to get into the playoffs, and if we are aspiring for that, we cannot go into any of those other games out the 4 and lose them. Rotherham has to be a win. Sheffield Wednesday has to be a win. And then Huddersfield and Birmingham will be tricky games, but we just can't get beat realistically. And obviously, like I mentioned before, Stoke are above us, so no doubt we probably won't be beating them if our form against the teams above us is anything to go off. So, no, I would definitely say that we need at least 2 or 3. No, we need at least 3 wins and a draw in those 5. I would definitely take 10 points, and I would be happy with that. And I think obviously Bradley Dack's going to be back for one of those games at the very least, I would hope. So we've got that to look forward to, and hopefully he just comes in and he's that difference that we need in right now. If we do go into the game against Rotherham and end up losing, then I do get really concerned with, like Alex was saying, just getting into that run of where we just have a really poor run and it just completely ruins our season. I only have to go back to it was the first season back in the Championship, and Mowbray and Armstrong got Manager of the Month or Player of the Month in January, and then after that we went on a massive run where we didn't win a game in like 8 games or something like that until we beat Wigan at home. So obviously after that January we're thinking, oh, we're going for playoffs, we're going to do it, and then just completely goes downhill and off a cliff, isn't it? And we just can't do that because obviously we were in that form up until the Bristol game, and then obviously these 2 results have just kind of killed us, and we're back to kind of square one again because we've done really well before that, grinding out results that we didn't really deserve. So we just need to nip it in the bud now and we need to win this game. I don't think anyone can say that it's not a must-win. I think it's essential for the season. If we are going for playoffs, you need to be beating teams like Rotherham, in my opinion.
And I think regardless of what type of Rovers fan you are, whether you think we're a mid-table side, whether you think we're going for the top 6, whether you think we need a good points return from this block of 12, I think with the greatest respect to Rotherham, Rotherham at home is a game that you want in Rovers to win, regardless of what happens. For me, I think it's just taken on a little layer of importance just to help keep the season going, to help this squad ultimately achieve what we want them to achieve. Luke's absolutely right. We're not sat here complaining about the effort, about the quality, about how we're playing. We want to see the results that our passages of play in some respects deserve and our possession deserve. And it's just that Rotherham game, nipping it in the bud is the right word, Jacob. I just want us to get the job done on Wednesday, get the win, get the confidence back, and then let's see what we can do over the next 4 or 5, the 4 games after that. Rest everybody for the FA Cup. And then we go again. That's how I'm viewing this little block of games. Rovers fans, we're going to end the stream probably in about 5 minutes, but we'll pick up some of the questions that people have been asking. I'll just pick up the first comment, though, from Leap Year Man. Rotherham will be tough. They will be buzzing after their result today. Absolutely, Leap Year Man. Certainly not underestimating them. And our record against promoted sides last season at home left a lot to be desired as well. So certainly not underestimating.
It's worth commenting on that one as well, Ryan, that they've beat Bristol City today, like he says, and anyone can beat anyone in this league. And we've got to remember that games that we usually lose points in, like your Millwalls, for example, we've picked points up there. We've lost games against the teams above us, which, yes, we need to convert, but they're tough games. And hopefully, if we're in a good position, then you can build on them games. In the second half of the season, we'll play them again. So.
Yeah. Elijah Shaw, does anyone know how long Brereton is out for? I think he's back in a couple of games, is it? I'm going to come to Alex and Luke. Yeah, a couple of games' time.
Yeah, I think so.
It is.
Yeah,
nodding,
I believe that the situation for Brereton, Dak, and Travis is all pretty similar. Like around the new year, I think is the current estimation. So we hopefully will have them back for either the Birmingham game or the meaningless
cup. We play
cup.
Stoke again after the cup game, I think. Is that right?
Yeah, we do.
We've got a quick turn.
Yeah, the way the fixtures work out, I think we play Stoke twice in 4 weeks, so that should be interesting.
And just to build on the Bradley Dak thing, Elijah Shaw, hopefully Dak coming back is like when Grealish came back for Villa when they got promoted. Yeah, certainly he's a big talisman who's coming back for us. Alex, I'm going to come to you on FM Works' question. How effective could Gallagher and Armour be as a 2 up top? My initial thought on this as well, just to add a layer, I just wonder if we might see that if there is a change in formation. So those 2 up top with Dak just off them, possibility. What's your thoughts?
I can only be honest and I say that it's something I've not really considered. I've always been in my mind ever since possibly the post-COVID lockdown that really it's been 4-3-3 95% of the time, and other than that, it's been the 4-2-2-2 that and we know that Joe loves. So it's usually a transition between one of those two. And I've never really thought that Mowbray fancied Gallagher as a central striker. He always likes to. The tactic always seems to be to have him out on the right hand side and win headers against the full back that he's up against. So it's never really something that I think is a realistic prospect. Mm-hmm. I could be completely wrong on that. We could turn up on Wednesday night and Armstrong and Gallagher could be playing up top together. But I think if I'm being realistic, FM Works, it's probably not a question that's worth answering because it's not something that I believe will occur or is likely to occur based on what formations we've seen over the past, I would say, 6 to 8 months.
I think just to add my 2 pence worth in as well, I think we've had some great effectiveness with the likes of Armstrong and Brereton and Gallagher himself penetrating those wide areas in a 3. And I just wonder with a 2 up top, we lose a bit of that from our game. So I think the only way that I could see it happening is if he's trying to fit Bradley Dack into a formation. If he's still sticking for the 4-3-3, then obviously that's the way that we're going to go. So, yeah, I think I'd prefer to see that wide penetration, because I do think that we've got strikers at this level who are really good down those wide channels. Any other comments here? Leap Year Man would like to have seen a formation change second half. Dolan and Chapman on the wings, Galley down the middle. And yeah, we've spoken about the plan B, haven't we, Leap Year Man? If you're going to put some crosses into the box, maybe Gallagher can get his head on it. But Luke, I'm just going to ask you, with Grant Hanley and Zimmerman in the middle, very good in the air, would it have been as simple as just lobbing balls into the box for Gallagher to try and win?
It's a difficult one, that, because yes, he was winning headers today, and I've always seen him as a player that can win headers and throw himself about a bit, and physicality. And a lot of people have in the past argued that and said we haven't bought him for his physicality. I think he can do that. I think he showed that today a number of times. But where Grant Hanley looked, where it looked like he come unstuck today, for me, was when the ball was on the floor. Cause he has a turning circle, the Titanic. There's a Grant Hanley. He's really slow, really flat-footed. So I often find that tricky players he really struggles with, and that's when you saw him get Ivy Elliott get the nuts in on him and send him for an hot dog for the goal. So I think that's where we would have got some luck against those guys, because they are sort of old school centre halves really. And I think they'd have dealt quite well with a long ball, and it'd have been just a bit desperate.
Yeah. And Jacob, I'm going to give you the final word. Ryan Lambert has made the comment here: for how much our squad has improved, the level of championship teams seems to have been raised across the board. I think perspective is important in that regard. So as much as we've spoken about 12-game runs, the next 5, how we're going to make the playoffs, etc., Ryan's absolutely right there, isn't it? And we've spoken about it in depth on this show tonight. It's all well and good Rovers playing well, having the possession, whatever. We are still coming up against some dangerous sides, and that Rotherham game isn't going to be easy on Wednesday, as the Stoke game isn't going to be easy the following game. These are going to be tough matches to get points from, aren't they?
Yeah, of course they are. The Championship's always been that sort of league where anyone can beat anyone. And I think much more this season we've seen that there's no team that's really running away with the league at all. It's just you could make an argument for about 12 teams to get into the playoffs this season. A lot of the teams just really close, and it's all compact, isn't it? They're either all close down towards the bottom, or all close going for the playoffs. And you look at the teams that have been relegated, even though they have kept a lot of their players, they're still not really running away with it by any means, but they are obviously up there. Like, they're vacating 4 of the top 3 positions, the 3 teams that got relegated. But no, like I said, it's obviously none of it's going to be easy games within this 5, but we do need to pick up about 10 points, in my opinion, if we are going to be going for the playoffs, because we're not doing it against the teams that are above us, unfortunately. So we need to make it count when we're playing these teams below us. And there's only one team in the next 5 that are above us, and that's Stoke. So we need to make sure that we get the points. And I know a lot of people are saying, well, last season, these are the sort of teams that we wouldn't beat, but that couldn't be any further from the truth this season. We've saw multiple times this season that we come up against these weaker sides and we do bully them. You only have to go back to the 5-0 and the 2-4-0s. And also, the QPR game, we were very dominant in that game. They got very lucky to have a penalty, in my opinion. So we do need to go into these games and be convincing, and then hopefully once Dak's back, it can take us up that extra level to start beating the teams above us, and that's just going to be the only thing we pray on, because if he doesn't come back and do that, then I can't see how we're going to make it, because we just don't look like we're going to be beating any of these teams above us, unfortunately, at the moment. They're just neutralising Armstrong, and we just look lost.
Yeah. So we're going to end the show there, Rovers fans. Another frustrating defeat for Rovers today, but I think Luke summed it up really nicely earlier when he said that Rovers are a side that have got all the answers. We're just not answering the right question at the moment. So we need to just turn some of our possession into better chances and be a bit more clinical. But I'm sure it'll come. I'm sure we'll go on another winning run. But yeah, we can look forward to the next 4 or 5 games and see what points return we do get. Thank you all for joining us in the comments. Before you all go, that is it in terms of the 12 days of Rovers Chat. So we are now heavily promoting the big fat Rovers quiz. Jacob, I don't know if there's anything that you can bring up on the quiz, but the big fat Rovers quiz on the 23rd of December. Joe mentioned it earlier. It's a big collaboration between Lancs Live, the Lancs Telegraph, the BRFCS Forum and Rovers Chat. So do join us live at 7 p.m. on the 23rd of December. Come and have a bit of fun with us. There's going to be loads of special guest appearances from current Rovers players, ex-Rovers players, Rovers-based celebrities. We're really looking forward to it, and there's a lot of effort going into it. So do join us on the 23rd of December. We'll keep publicising that. Of course, please do subscribe to our YouTube channel. We are trying to get to 1,000 subscribers as a New Year's resolution. So help us get there if you've not subscribed already. It's Rovers Chat on YouTube. And please do, of course, follow us on Twitter. We are Rovers_chat. Jacob, Luke, Alex, thanks for joining us this evening. I hope that today's game hasn't put too much of a dampener on your Saturday night.
No, I'm feeling pretty good about it. I'm feeling optimistic. We're playing well. We just need to change it into results. Just it's frustrating more than anything. Just keep upbeat, guys. It's Saturday night. Let's just be happy.
Yeah, I'm not letting it dampen my night. I'm going again, so I may be even more hungover tomorrow. But I would just like to quickly say thank you for Ryan and Michael, who did say some kind words at the start of the stream after what I said to say about my granddad. So thank you for that.
No worries. Well, Luke, I think your optimism is the way to finish. We are playing well. We are seeing some good possession. We have seen Rovers sides that do none of that. And I said it on Wednesday evening. We've been stood on the terraces. We've been stood in those away games where we've not even seen shots or possession. So we are a side that does play better now. So hopefully we can turn it into those results and make us all happy. So, yeah, let's all go and have a good Saturday evening. We will be back with our pre-match stream, as usual, on Wednesday evening prior to the Rotherham game.
It could be worse. We could be watching Burnley every week, guys.
There we go. We will finish with Luke Kimberley's comment there. So have a great evening, everyone. And we will finish with our sponsor message from 6yardsout.com.
The Rovers Chat YouTube channel is proudly sponsored by 6yardsout.com. They've got retro football from every era with mugs, phone cases and much more. They also have plenty of Rovers goods, including apparel with the famous 94-95 season and this season's kit. Check them out using the link in the description below.